All right, let's dive into one of the most heated topics in America right now, a proposed mass deportation plan for 2026. Is it a bold fix for a broken system, or is it the beginning of a massive humanitarian crisis? We're going to cut through all the noise and get to the heart of what's actually on the table. Seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. It sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But this is the very real, very high stakes question at the center of this huge national debate. So, how did we even get to this point? To really understand what's going on, we first have to look at the plan itself, the nuts and bolts of the mandate, and what led us here in the first place. Okay, so check out this timeline. It shows a pretty dramatic shift, right? After hitting a peak of over 53 million, the immigrant population started to fall as new, stricter policies were put into place. And by fiscal year 2026, the Department of Homeland Security was reporting record lows in illegal crossings. This is the backdrop, the essential context for the whole plan. And you should know, this isn't just talk, there's serious money behind it. We're talking about a $100 million recruitment blitz. The goal? To hire thousands upon thousands of new ICE agents. This isn't a small change. It's a massive scaling up of enforcement all across the country. And here it is. This is the single most important difference from policies of the past. The new mandate isn't just focused on immigrants who have criminal records. No, it targets all undocumented individuals. The scope has just exploded. It's a total game changer. Okay, so now let's flip the coin and look at the arguments for this plan. What are the core reasons supporters are saying, yes, this is exactly what the country needs right now? Well, supporters lay out several key points. For them, it starts with a simple idea. Enforce the laws that are already on the books but have been ignored for too long. They also tie it to national security, stopping the flow of fentanyl, and to the economy, arguing it'll ease the burden on schools and hospitals and maybe even boost wages for American workers. And for some, it's about putting a stop to what they describe as an invasion. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? It captures the feeling behind this whole argument. It's a powerful, straightforward message that really connects with people who feel the system is failing and that citizens have been left behind. But of course, that is only one side of the story. Let's look at the other side of this debate. For every argument in favor, there's a really powerful counterargument that's all about a potential humanitarian and economic disaster. Critics paint a completely different and, frankly, a much darker picture. They're warning about a chaotic and cruel process that could literally tear families apart. Families where some are citizens and others aren't. They're predicting that entire industries that rely on immigrant labor, like farming or construction, could be absolutely wrecked. Plus, they see endless legal fights and a nation living under a cloud of fear. And this quote is just as powerful, but from the complete opposite perspective. It frames the entire policy not as a question of law and order, but as something much more sinister, arguing that in the end, it will cost the nation far more than it could ever save. So let's step away from the political talking points for a minute and try to understand what this could actually look and feel like for real people and for the economy as a whole. I mean, look at this. This slide lays out the fundamental clash perfectly. On one side, you have a vision of restoring order, enforcing laws, and putting citizens first. And on the other, a vision of absolute chaos, split-up families, and a moral stain on the country. You really couldn't have two more different outcomes. This is the heart of the debate. To make this less abstract, let's talk about a person. We're going to call her Maria. Now, her specific story is hypothetical, but it's based on the very real lives of thousands, maybe even millions of people in the U.S. today. So, Maria has been in America for 20 years. She works 2 jobs, she pays her taxes. Her kids, they're U.S. citizens, and they're both in college on scholarships. And then one day, there's a raid at her job, and in an instant, her entire life, her family's entire life, is shattered. This is the human cost that has critics so deeply worried. This chart makes that dramatic policy shift we've been talking about crystal clear. You see, under previous administrations, deportations were a smaller-scale operation, mostly focused on people with criminal records. The 2026 plan? It's a massive jump in both the scale and the scope, going after the entire undocumented population. So all of this, it brings us right to the ultimate question. After looking at the plan, the arguments for it, and the arguments against it, we have to ask, what happens next? Where do we go from here? At the end of the day, the central dilemma is pretty simple. Is this a bold, necessary correction for a system everyone agrees is broken? Or is it a policy that, because of its consequences, economic, social, and human, will actually create way more problems than it could ever hope to solve. Ultimately, that's the question we're all left with: a fix for a broken system or a moral and economic disaster? There are no easy answers here, but the choice that's made one way or another could very well define an entire generation.